Nick, so good to see you. Today we are talking about 3 easy ways to jeopardize your retirement. According to Kiplinger, only 44% of people have ever calculated what they will need to live on in retirement. That, of course, should be step number one. And after you do that, you may need to rethink the way you spend before you retire to ensure you don't outlive your nest egg. So let's talk through those 3 common pitfalls. Number one, many retirees carry credit card balances, auto loans, mortgages, or other debt into retirement, sometimes as high as 55K, according to Investopedia. So, how critical is it to enter retirement debt free?
So I think that statistic's actually really kind of interesting. Um, Debt of 55,000, as high as I think you said 55,000 from Investopedia.
Hmm.
Um, Gosh, I'll tell you, it seems like that's a lot higher than that in reality, in real practice. And obviously, there's some people that I've just met with a couple. They have about $80,000 in debt, and they have $600,000 still in debt on their mortgage. So they're walking in, and they're wanting to retire at age 62, and they don't have the money to be able to do it because of all these expenses. So you almost have to. When I started analyzing it, it almost looked like about 60% of their income is needed just to pay off the debts that they have. Because there were other debts too, not just those. They had car and other things that they had, but they just really want to retire. And so the numbers just don't match up. So you just got to look at retirement is when you retire with debt, it's like having a backpack full of bricks and trying to run. You could do it, but why would you want to? And so it makes better sense to try and get some of those things paid off so you can lighten the load.
Hmm.
And retirement is really when that paycheck stops, but debt is when those payments never stop. It's like a
Right.
slow leak. If you knew that a cruise ship had a leak in the hull, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't get on that boat. And hope it works out. So a couple tips here is you got to look at your highest interest debt first. Get those
Right.
things paid off. Create a debt elimination timeline before you retire so you can try and get those things paid off. Why? Because statistics show it's a heck of a lot easier to get your debts paid off when you have work income versus having a fixed income and trying
Right.
to do the same thing. So if you
Right.
don't get it paid off, chances are you probably never will. And another thing that I find is a lot of people, they move into retirement, especially right now with what's been going on with the market, is people look at cash as stupid. And there will be a point in time when you say cash is king.
Right.
So you want to make sure you have an emergency cash stash available. So if something happens, you can go to your emergency cash stash to get money for emergencies without
Hmm.
having to charge and get back into debt to
Hmm.
handle bills.
Right. And the mortgage, Nick?
Well, the mortgage, so that's kind of interesting. It depends on the interest that you have on that mortgage. I would prefer everybody to not have that. And the reason I say that is when the happiest people who come in are those who have no debt at all. They'll actually say, I'm debt free. So yeah, I probably can live off of Social Security as much as that sounds weird because they don't have all the debt that they're having to carry. So now with a mortgage, I would say first priority is you definitely want to get the credit cards paid off because heck, if that's 22% that you're paying on credit card debt, you would definitely want to get those off. On the house though, you want to get that as close to paid off as possible before you retire as well.
Okay.
Just so I mean, because that can be 25 to 30%, if not more, of a person's income is
Right.
going towards
Right.
paying off that. And if that was a way, that's like getting a 30% raise. Who's not excited about that? So sometimes it makes sense to work a little bit longer, get that thing paid off. Because again, it's easier to pay it off when you're working than when you're
Right.
not working.
Right. All right, number two. This one gets me right here, Nick. A record number of parents, 50%, according to savings.com, are financially supporting their adult children with the average support around $1,500 a month. That includes expenses like groceries, cell phone bills, rent, health insurance, and even vacations. So, how do we prioritize our retirement while still helping our kids?
Well, we love our kids, right?
We do.
And we want to help them. But the uncomfortable truth is you can borrow for college, but you can't borrow from for retirement.
Right.
So you almost have to keep that in mind is that the more you kick that can down the road and do other things, then you get to retirement and your own house is not solvent because you've tried to help the houses of your family stay afloat. So if you're giving a kid $1,500 a month, that's $18,000 a year. And that's not help. Usually that's what you're saying there. That's not helping occasionally. That's like you're co-signing their lifestyle. And it's not just the kids too. A lot of working families, they're in this sandwich generation, or like right in this sandwich.
Right.
They're now having to help mom and dad, and that's costing something. They're trying to help themselves, and then they're trying to help their kids. So again, part of this is just you got to have what is the math telling you? What is you have to plan those things out, but what you almost need to do is just have a commitment. You can say, hey, I'm going to help you one time. I'm not going to help you every time. So set guardrails around this and set themselves up with a budget. So sometimes, we're a family practice too. Right. And I know we've talked about this. Sometimes it means that the reason this is happening is the kids don't understand, how do I create a lifestyle? So you just keep spending. And so what we'll tell people to do is bring your family in with you. And just like we're helping you with your lifestyle and creating a lifestyle where you can really, as we call it, have cheers to your best years, let's figure out how to help your kids too, so they don't dig themselves a deeper hole and they can be self-sustaining. If we can help them be independent, and that's another thing too. When families will come in and talk with us and we'll say, what is your main goal? I will say at least 7 out of 10 times, they'll say, I just want to stay independent. I want to stay in control. And so if we can help your kids stay in control and not be a slave to debt, then that's going to be less pressure that's on your back as well.
Right.
And that way your money can be focused on helping you as opposed to your money having to be focused on helping everybody else.
Yeah. All right. Last, living large. Simply put, living beyond your means. But how can we determine if we are spending more than we should? This is such a delicate balance in retirement.
And just because you retired doesn't mean that the math is retired. As a matter of fact, math means even more when you are retired, because you've built up a finite number. And now it's like, how do I get this and make it last as long as I do? So again, it's math over emotion. We have to run simulations. We have to run income stress tests. And what that does is it tells you, if you spend this amount, where does that money run out, if at all? And so, hey, if you do this, your money lasts until 94 years old and then it's zeroed out. Well, at least you know that number if you follow this path. And so a lot of people, what they'll do is, what income planning is not, is when people will say, well, I think I can live off of $5,000, and they use that $5,000 number and they're age 65 as if it's always going to be $5,000. But what they haven't factored in is inflation. They haven't factored in taxes into that. And so to get $5,000, you might need $7,000 or $8,000. Well, now that's a different math equation. And I find a lot of people, they won't throw in taxes, or they don't know how to calculate in taxes. They won't throw in inflation. What's the probability that if you're 65 now and you need $5,000, what's the probability that by the time you hit 90, that you'll still need only $5,000? So the bottom line is, you can't live like a rolling stone if you're not getting the royalties, right? You got to make sure that you have the royalties. And then some people, they think, well, I'm 65, so I'll spend more now because I won't spend as much later. And and I know that sounds great in reality. We might think it should make sense. That sounds logical. The problem is, most retirees, they underestimate things like healthcare, Medicare, long-term care. They underestimate inflation, because if inflation is 3 or 4%, it's compounding every year.
Right.
And they underestimate longevity, living to 95. So the market doesn't usually ruin retirements. What usually ruins retirements is overspending when the market's heading down. So you got to check yourself. Do I have a written income plan? Is my income plan, using taxes? Is it using inflation numbers in there? Is it using a safe rate of return? Am I calculating in a 5% rate of return? Or am I calculating if the market does 12%? And you got to stress test your money against those realities, and then revisit that spending annually just to make sure you're doing good. That helps you stay out of a lot of mistakes that we find people get into in
Hmm.
retirement.
Hmm. Absolutely. Well, Nick, I'm glad we were able to talk these, easy ways to jeopardize your retirement through. Maybe some of them were sounding a little bit familiar to people who are listening or watching us today. So if somebody wants to sit down with you, make sure that they have all the fundamentals in place, creating that financial plan around their own goals. What's the best way to reach you?
So when it comes to this, I'm going to give two options, but one, go to our website, group10financial.com. On there, you'll find two things that you can do. One is you can get our retirement toolkit. You'll see a link right there in the middle of the front page. You can click there, put your information in, and it's literally a box. We'll ship it to you that has all the retirement tools and ideas on how to not jeopardize your retirement and how to protect against that. So get the toolkit. That's the first thing. Free. I mean, why wouldn't you do it? And then as a follow-up to that, because obviously a toolkit is very generic and very, because we can't make a toolkit specifically for you. If your name is Joe, we can't just make a Joe toolkit. We make a toolkit for everybody, but then what we do is we offer a 15-minute strategy session call to really take that toolkit and say, here's what's pertinent to you and your situation,
Mhm.
to really help you get to and through retirement and not miss some of those important things like we were talking about today. So on that website, group10financial.com, you can find both things. You can also give us a call at 844-GROUP10 to schedule that 15-minute strategy session call. If you want to dispose of getting a toolkit and you're like, I really need help like yesterday, then our team's here to help if you need
Right.
our help.
Yeah. Yeah. Make that phone call sooner rather than later. Nick, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Great being with you, Aaron.